store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it. KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
E-Digits. Lock them in for more information, recreation, and guaranteed fun. KCAA, 1050 AM.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. There are 2 confirmed deaths, multiple injuries, and more than 1,000 structures damaged as wildfires continue to rage in Southern California. Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath said they hope conditions will start to improve.
We are hoping that our conditions will be better than last night so we can actually deploy more of our aerial equipment. Overnight, we couldn't do that because the winds got to what were hurricane-like conditions.
Officials are urging residents to evacuate when told to do so. The Eaton Fire near Pasadena has grown into the largest fire in the area, now burning more than 10,600 acres. 2 people have been killed in the blaze. The Palisades Fire erupted yesterday morning and has grown to over 5,000 acres and has destroyed around 1,000 structures. Meanwhile, the Hearst Fire has burned more than 500 acres north of San Fernando. Governor Gavin Newsom has deployed the National Guard to assist with the fires. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
Dick's Auto Wreckers in Kingman reminds all drivers, when you take to the road, remember to take along those 3 C's of safety: caution, courtesy, and a little common sense. Safe and sober driving is everyone's responsibility. This message courtesy of Dick's Auto Wreckers in Kingman. Call Dick's Auto Wreckers at 928-757-9888. That's 928-757-9888. This message from Trish and the staff at Dick's Auto Wreckers in Kingman.
This is Gary Garver. If you made a New Year's resolution to get yourself in shape and be healthy this year, I have a great event to tell you about to start 2025. It's Fit Expo LA, and it's being held January 25th and 26th at the LA Convention Center. Thousands of workout enthusiasts will be there, along with many celebrities, including Laker legend and co-owner of iSpot Active, James Worthy. James will be signing autographs and taking pictures with you Laker fans at the giant iSpot Active booth. iSpot Active will also be selling their great iSpot Active CryoWear at the booth and will be doing a giveaway of a signed James Worthy basketball along with an iSpot Active garment of your choice. So if you want to look good, be healthy, and turn back the clock on Father Time in 2025, head down to Fit Expo LA on January 25th and 26th at the LA Convention Center and go meet Laker legend James Worthy down there. He'll give you the lowdown on how he heals his body with iSpot Active CryoWear.
I always hear from our clients who hired another firm that they wish they'd hired DNA Financial first. Don't have regrets about your IRS tax case. Just hire the best in the first place.
One owed $150,000 to the IRS and had spent thousands on another firm. We stopped the levies, negotiated a payment plan, and had their penalties forgiven.
And while every case is different, we guarantee that we'll find your perfect resolution and get it done right.
For a free consultation, call us at 866-201-0156. That's 866-201-0156. Then you can say, DNA did right by me.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
Randy Corrigan in the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino, and we're back. Happy holidays, everybody. Good music out the gate. We should get lots of good ratings on that one. Lots of good reviews. Mark, great job. It's a new year. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, had a safe New Year and a Merry Christmas, and had a lot of fun, got all the presents that they want, and most importantly gave away everything, because Christmas is supposed to be about giving, not getting. It's nice to get some cool stuff, but it's actually more fun to watch what others get that you gave them, and obviously most importantly about family and getting together with everybody and enjoying, I guess, the close of a year and getting to review your year and everybody have good food and enjoy each other's company and hopefully you don't have too many political fights. But I know that happens sometimes. But hey, we all have to accept each other for who we are. And again, I hope everybody had a great holiday season. And we've been out for 2 weeks because our two shows actually fell on holidays, and that would have been Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and I really loved doing the show, but my family probably would have had a problem with me doing the show on those actual days if I would have tried to pull that off. So I hope all of you had a great holiday season as well. I know I did. I'm actually been surprised by this guest. Apparently during the holiday season, somebody cooked up an idea that we're going to roll with, and that is the guest to my right, to your left on the screen, is actually my daughter, Carly Corrigan. And apparently during the holidays, everybody cooked up an idea to get a special guest on here. And I love you, kid. It's great to have you on the show. Well, you're going to have to sit here and listen to me go through a few things first, and then we'll kind of get into the reason why these people cooked up this crazy idea to have my amazing kid on here. Mark, you got something to say on this? Yeah, you're not even ready to talk.
Oh,
we talked about this already.
I just wanted to put you on the spot. It's my one chance.
Yeah, you did. You definitely put me on the spot, caught me by surprise, and I'll roll with it. So
we're going to show the human side of Randy Corrigan.
I don't have a human side. It doesn't exist. Isn't that right, kid?
It exists.
Carly,
okay.
Put him on the spot. Put him on the spot.
You got to be careful of the stories that you get her to tell. So with that, we had a great show on December 18th. What a great group with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Weren't those young ladies amazing on the show? They were articulate. They were on point. They're great role models. They were really, really talking about what they were doing at their school, in addition to how they were challenging their peers to be more involved and to volunteer their time. Boy, if you didn't listen to that show, you got to go back and listen to that show and listen to those young ladies and how active that they were, how involved they were in trying to help out individuals that, obviously have challenges like they do and making wishes come true in that time period. We actually work with them on our Ronald McDonald event every year, in addition to other things that we do through the training center. So it was great to have them on. We also had Mike Ochoa on, covering and talking about some of the things that we're going to be rolling out in the next few months, next couple years, which is the future medical clinics for the Teamsters 1932 Health and Welfare Trust funds. And lastly, we also had Eric Jimenez on, the Teamsters, the principal officer of Teamsters 952, and talked about the threat of AI and the Teamster jobs and the Amazon campaign. And he did a really good job of kind of introducing himself to the listeners, and it was good to see a lot of 952 members pick up and start listening. I know they've got a podcast as well there, and it's and may I say it here for people that don't know, the General President has his own podcast too. Somebody want to get me the name of it real quick? That Better Bad Ideas, and congratulations to him. It's good to see that more people in labor are entering this space and thrusting ourselves into the mainstream and having these types of discussions. I'm really excited about him having his show as well. I believe his show is going to be on Wednesday along with ours, which is kind of fun. Really looking forward to that and seeing what comes out of that. I think there's a lot of positive that can be done in that space. And so, Eric, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate you coming on, and any of you new 952 listeners as a result of Eric coming on. We really appreciate that. We're also next week going to have the principal officer of Teamsters Local 631 on, Tommy Blitch, and he's going to be on next week talking about some stuff that's going on in Nevada, in the local union in which he's worked at for many decades. I've known Tommy since he was a package car driver at UPS for many, many years. Great labor leader in Nevada, does a lot of great work. It's really going to be good to see him here next week. I always want to remind you to download the KCAA app in the Apple Store or Google Play Store if you want to reach the radio show, or you can please contact us at radioshow@teamsters1932.org. What we're doing now is I got the screen in front of me, and I've got some stuff that I can actually see live happening. Yes, Scott, I do see you here commenting, telling everybody that Carly is an amazing kid. Scott has known my daughter probably her entire life. So, yeah, she is an amazing kid, and I can't believe if I knew you're in on this too, I'm going to kick him in the shins or something like that. Without, everybody's got this little worked up. I see everybody. I'm looking through the window. They're laughing right now. Like, oh, you guys think this is funny. So that means you guys may have rehearsed some stories to tell about me. So I guess we'll figure this out here shortly. Let's get to the next thing, which is our live shout-outs. Ha, 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 ha. Anyway, live shout-outs. We got Linda Haro from CSC in San Bernardino, Jennifer Mina from Child Support Ontario, Sheila Muir, a retiree. We have Lorraine Robinson from TAD, Jenny Hernandez from Public Health. And Jenny, great feedback all the time. She's emailing us, lots of good information. She obviously listens to the show live, and then it's great to see her feedback come in. I can't always see it as soon as it comes in because sometimes she puts a lot of information in there. It's hard for me to read that much information while I'm trying to run a show. But thank you, Jenny, for the interaction. It's much appreciated. John Gamboa, Superintendent of Schools. Connie Bottini. Connie, good to hear from you. Good to see you. She was on the show a few months ago. We have Kurt Garrison. Boy, you talk about a consistent listener. Kurt and Susan Loftus, both from the Sheriff's Department. Sandy Cabrera from ARMC. Oh, it's her birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Sandy. Sarah Balat from the libraries in Mentone. Yes, there's a library in Mentone, by the way, and those are Teamsters that are there. So, Sarah, good to see that you're listening in live. Chino Valley Fire. We also have from Chino Valley Fire, we have Jason, Marcel, Sandy, Ryan, and Lena. And then from the courts, we have Chris, Tom, Valerie, and Laura. Oh, Valerie. Boy, I haven't heard from Valerie in a while. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's well, Valerie. Good to see that you're listening in live. Oh, I have more of them here on the back. City of Fontana, we have Lauren, Daniel, Joanna, Andrew, and Dre. We have from Child Support, we have Tiffany and Allison. The Rialto Stewards, we have Kim Knowlton from ARMC as a retiree. Olivia Gabara, my apologies. Krista Kunter from Nutritional Services. Joanna Alvarado, Public Health. Dana Macias from the DA's office, Lisa Vasquez from ARMC, Lonnie Garcia from Ontario TAD, Desert Water Agency. Warren, you better be listening in live, by the way. And we have Ralph Lopez from Local 1932. And I just saw him through the window put his arms up. Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Lopez.
Yes, everybody. Big round of applause for Ralph Lopez. Ralph loves the spotlight. He should have been an actor in a different life. He's definitely loves to. And he also thinks he's the best looking man on the face of the planet. Look at him. See? Now look at this amazing face. The next part of our show is labor heroes and labor events. Dan Tobin is the first one we're going to talk about, and I want to definitely thank Carlos Gonzalez. He's always pointing these really cool things out and giving me some points to talk about. And Dan Tobin is really an overlooked general president of the Teamsters. Number one, because he served an unprecedented 45 years from 1907 to 1952. Tobin saw the union grew from 38,905 members to over 1 million. Giving the Teamsters a power base unequaled by any other labor organization. Dan Tobin had the vision to see that the automobile would soon be the future for delivering goods, and he actually negotiated all of this stuff into contracts, kind of similar to what we're dealing with automation right now. Interestingly enough, Eric Jimenez talked about this, and it reminded me of something that Dan Tobin had done and was able to see that early on when people were resisting automobiles. He very, very smartly and diligently put language in the contracts to deal with that conversion, and as a result, benefited from it masterfully when it comes to how the future of delivering goods and services were going to be handled. And our hats are off to Dan. Dan really doesn't receive a lot of the glory that Hoffa does. There's a couple reasons. However, Dan Tobin, who laid the groundwork, he's the one who laid the groundwork for our great union. Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa came in a time when television and radio was at a peak and was able to catch the airwaves and catch everybody's attention, and then also help the union grow to more than 2 million members. And so, clearly I'm not taking anything away from the legend Jimmy Hoffa, but please don't ever overlook the contribution that Dan Tobin also made. We also have Alan Baird. Alan Baird is a Teamster leader. In 1973, Baird was asked by the regional leadership of the Teamsters to take charge of the Teamsters Local 888's prolonged strike. And I from what I understand, Alan actually passed away today at 92 years old. Either I'm being told today or it's just recently happened, and it actually happened today. And Alan, one of the most recognized boycotts to ever happen in American history. He was one of the individuals that really, really agitated that. Him and an individual by the name of Dave Sickler. Dave was not a Teamster. However, Alan was the point person and the coordinator on the Teamster side. And that campaign involved reaching out to Black, Latino, Arab American, gay and lesbian organizations and asked for support. He, knocked on doors, built the right support, and, his effort proved to be a serious challenge, but he didn't give up. Instead, he built coalitions with the communities across the Bay Area, because that's where he came out of, was the Bay Area, using uncommon strategies such as advocating for affirmative action hiring program within the union. That was obviously new at the time, not something in the early 70s that was received well everywhere, just part of the culture at the time. And, he worked at a hiring program within the union, in addition to advocating for picketing alongside the United Farm Worker protesters and getting beer delivery jobs for openly gay men and lesbians. Baird also used his leverage to get labor support issues of concern to the gay community. At one point, Baird gave his megaphone to activist Harvey Milk, and it ended up in the Smithsonian Museum. That very famous speech that Harvey Milk did, a Teamster was standing right there, right next to him, Alan Baird. And so big shout out to him and the work that he did. The Coors boycott is recognized as one of the greatest boycotts of all time. As a matter of fact, Coors was the number one beer in the West prior to the boycott starting. It ended up getting knocked down way below, I believe it was like 6 or 7 by the time the boycott was over. And I'm seeing something here on the screen that says, growing up as a kid, my dad stopped drinking Coors and started drinking Budweiser. I don't know why Budweiser, but hey, that's a whole other conversation. I remember asking him why he switched, and I will never forget his answer, because Coors doesn't support unions or Chicanos, so I don't support them. I stuck with it, and I've never had a Coors because of that. So anybody had any connection to the labor movement or civil rights movements or equal rights movements of that generation remembers the Coors boycott. As a matter of fact, every now and then you'll see an old truck or car go by, and you'll see boycott Coors sticker, and you know that car is pre-1985, and it was immensely successful and brought that corporation to their knees. Took a long time and a lot of work from a lot of people like Alan Baird. So kudos to you, Alan. Thank you, Carlos, for pointing that out. And the last one I want to point out as far as events and individuals is Teamsters after World War II. Teamster members did not hesitate to volunteer for service after the attack on Pearl Harbor, often going down in groups with other members from their locals to sign up together. They served in every branch of the military and armed forces, engaging in everything from building the Burma Road and implementing the Red Ball Express supply line in France to landing on the beaches of Normandy. Now remember, we were absolutely celebrated by Eisenhower, by electeds, by the presidents of the United States, because Teamsters took their expertise over to the war zone and taught everybody how to operate that heavy equipment, drive those vehicles. And it's easy to drive a this or drive a that. Oh no, it's not. Especially when you're driving in very difficult conditions on beaches, snow, having to deal with all the challenges. Teamsters won scores of medals for their bravery and dedication to duty in all times of crisis, including 3 members who received the highest honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor, General George Patton, General Omar Bradley, and the Allied Supreme Commander, General Dwight Eisenhower, all commended the Teamsters for their dedication, skill, and service in the armed forces. So great job us reaching to the past and remembering a time of clearly crisis in this world, and to just see Teamsters by the thousands, by the millions, just put it down and do what was right to help this country. This is what we do every day. This is why we have this radio show. We have this radio show because we want to tell these stories, and we want to remind the general public and remind our members and everybody that's willing to listen that Teamsters are a good thing, that we're good for the community, that we connect small businesses and local elected officials in our Teamster Advantage program, or what we're doing with our training centers and all the schools and integration that we're having. What we're utilizing this program to do is to advertise it, talk about it, get everybody to hear what's going on. And typically the next part of my show is a Teamster Advantage partner. And what we're going to do this week is actually I'm going to read a bio. And this is for Surfer Joe's. Surfer Joe's here in San Bernardino, we use them all the time here at the local union. And I'm really proud of the Teamster Advantage program, because we've built a network of more than 1,000 small businesses, along with the 26 Chamber of Commerces that we participate in. And we've created this space where we encourage thousands, tens of thousands of our members to participate and utilize these small businesses to make sure that the money stays within the local economy. And it's much better to go to Surfer Joe's to get a sandwich than it is to, let's say, a Subway or one of these huge big chains that the money goes out of the large economy. Jersey Mike's and some of the other ones are slightly different, because a lot of times they're owned by a local proprietor. And so we do have some of the bigger chains in our system because a local proprietor owns the actual location. So that does keep, obviously, the money more so in the local economy. Some of it moves out, but it's obviously a lot better than a corporate-owned store. And so we're excited to welcome Surfer Joe's Pizza for over 34 years. They've been serving up fresh, delicious meals, and we're proud to now call Redlands our home. Apparently, they're in Redlands now, too. And so I know they've been in San Bernardino since 1991 or even longer. But Surfer Joe's has been a beloved part of the community, and we're committed to continuing that tradition with every dish they serve. The owner, Mike, brings over 20 years of experience and passion for creating memorable dining experiences. At Surfer Joe's, we take pride. They take pride in offering something for everyone. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually reading this promo, and I've got to do the difference between it being third person or them. And this is where the rookie status, a longtime organizer, first-time radio host, comes in. Did anybody pick up on this, Mark?
You're doing great.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, you're doing great.
My daughter's sitting over here kind of looking at me with one eye.
Is it getting hot in there? Is it
It is.
sweaty?
It's starting to get
sweaty
rough.
over there.
Anyway, back to Surfer Joe's. That fresh baked bread sandwiches stacked with premium meats and their signature veggie mix for a flavor-packed bite. A variety of pizzas and pastas. Yeah, their pizza's really good. I haven't had much of their pasta, but I know their pizzas are good. Sides made with only the freshest ingredients. Vegan options crafted with care for those seeking plant-based delights. Catering services to make any event delicious and stress-free. As a special thank you to our hard-working Teamsters, we're offering an exclusive promo, $10 and $5 beers. Yeah, how do you beat that? A perfect way to relax after a long day. And they're now in Redlands. Do we have an address on that? I don't see it on this here. Their hours are Monday and Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Wednesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're ready to satisfy your cravings. Visit them in person or order online at ordersurferjoespizza.com. We promise a dining experience filled with fresh flavors, friendly service, and a taste of tradition that you won't forget. Come taste the love and dedication that made Surfer Joe's Pizza a community favorite for decades. We look forward to seeing you soon. So, nice little promo for Surfer Joe's.
So you know,
I know they bug you all the time.
Oh, they bug me all the time.
Because they're always
Mike's
like, hey,
a great guy, though. Mike's a great guy.
Nothing wrong with him bugging us. He's just drumming up business. He
he picks up the phone. He wants
and he
that.
always gives our members a discount.
Absolutely.
What's
You know how you get the address? Download the Teamster Advantage app. Saying.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I was just helping you out. That's all. Just helping you out.
Well, thank you. But have we done a function with them lately?
Not this year. Last year.
Well, of course. This is
2025.
Just started 2025.
Well, it's not this year.
Come on. You're giving us unrealistic expectations. If you notice, I'm delaying here because I'm trying not to get any stories told about with my daughter sitting right next to me.
Carly's waiting patiently.
I know. She kicked me twice under the table here.
I'm going to let her take it away.
All right, so I got all kinds of news and a bunch of stuff here to talk about. But I think I'm gonna have you on here first, seeing that you guys. I don't know you.
We conspired. Yes, we did.
Yeah, you conspired.
We
That's
conspired.
the word. You conspired over Christmas. Were you in on this, Robert? No. See how fast he denied that.
Did you see how he lied right on air? That's live, Robert. That is live.
All right, Carly, what are you doing on the show?
I'm mostly just here to talk about how proud we are of you. You know, I'm coming from everybody in the family. Definitely
Does
me.
the whole family know you're on the show and I'm the last to find out?
My sister Corey and Cassie, they know, just because I was so
Well,
ridiculously nervous.
Can't be Braden because he's in Tokyo
Yep.
right now.
He
Or
is. He's
in
traveling.
Japan somewhere.
I didn't really tell anybody because I was so nervous, but I did tell Cassie and Corey just to kind of help them ease my nerves a little bit. But
Okay, well, I do appreciate that you listen in live a lot, and I get a lot of cool feedback from you regarding the show. So, all right, you're on the show. Like, they convinced you to do this. So
they did.
What do
And
you
it
want to
was-
talk about?
It was mostly out of just wanting to talk about how proud I am of you and how amazing.
Okay, I heard that. So let's move on.
How amazing it is, to be your daughter and kind of grow up around the Teamsters and grow up in the union and see
You
what I
did.
see.
You spent your entire life growing up in this movement.
I did. And then I think the biggest thing is understanding the brotherhood and the sisterhood of what we represent as Teamsters and union workers. And, always being there along your side during the picket lines and everything like that as a little girl was always something very inspirational to watch.
Did you ever see me get arrested?
Yes.
You did?
Well, almost got arrested. I think what I remember was
I'm trying to remember which time that was.
I was sitting in the truck and I remember you yelling, my daughter's in the car, my daughter's in the car. And I think you almost did, but you didn't. But
You would have known if I got arrested because I wouldn't have been able to drive the truck away.
Exactly. But I mean, I have seen you get arrested almost before, so. But no, I think mostly it's just watching you kind of be there for so many workers and for the people, for everybody that kind of you motivate, encourage every single day, especially everything with going on at Amazon and watching you just make people understand that the movement that you can do and the fight that you can do when everybody comes together. And that is something so extraordinary to see as your daughter, like amazing to just watch you work so hard for all these people and make a stand for them. And it teaches you to just understand what you need to do and the hard work that you can have when you dedicate yourself to something and what movements you can do.
So imagine this. 20 years ago, I'm driving on the cell phone, 3 kids in the back seat. I'm snapping my fingers at them because I'm on the phone, talking, dealing with, doing something like she's talking about right now. So imagine being in my shoes right now where I'm picturing a scene of flashback of 20 years ago of the kids in the back of the vehicle, truck, car, whatever it is, and tell them to shut up because I'm on the phone and I'm trying to get some work done.
Yeah.
And to actually hear that you were actually listening sometimes.
I was. I mean, I feel I'm always listening. I always have looked up to the work that you do, and you know, you and Jackie. I admire it really, and you know, seeing what you have been doing lately with everything, and just understanding that there's a lot of corporations out there that just take advantage of their workers, and especially everything again that's going on with Amazon. Like you have these corporations that have the ability to take care of their people. They really do, because they're what is running these companies, and they're the backbone of America. And instead of just treating them how they should be treated, they're taking advantage, and it's just dumbfounding. It's really.
But isn't it cool to see these workers stepping up?
No, it is. It's amazing. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like you can just what the union and what everybody can do if they just come together as a community and just fight for what their rights are. It's astonishing what you could do with that. So, and I feel a lot of it is because of you and because of everybody else in your team and all of you guys working together, and it's just amazing.
Well, interestingly enough, none of it happens without the workers themselves, right?
Of course, yeah.
Obviously, some of us have got to be the ones that are motivating them or agitating or you know, trying to push them into the space. And most importantly, educating them on what their rights are, because most people just don't know. They're unaware of the right that they have to collectively get together and do something and demand change or make or fight for a contract, whatever it may be. So I don't know. It's great it's interesting to hear from this perspective. Like
well, it's you giving that confidence and that education to those people to be able to stand up to themselves. Like knowing what they can do, and when those people are educated and they understand what they can do, they're very confident in being able to fight. And that's for everybody. And then they're going to tell those people, and those people are going to tell those people, and then it's just going to be one big, powerful movement. And I think that's something much to look up to.
So it must have been, in that light of what you're saying, it must have been pretty crazy to see the news cycle from December 19th to about the 21st be dominated by Amazon workers, what they were doing.
Yeah.
What was that like for you to see that? You know, maybe you're at work and you see it on the TV, or you hear a clip, or you hear people talking about it. What was that like for you?
It was, honestly, obviously you came in the back of my mind the whole entire time, but I had people, friends of mine, that were sending me like reels and stuff from social media that because the news would say your name and everything like that, and they would be like, oh, is this what your dad's doing? Because I talk about you all the time. So it was very encouraging and very incredible just to see all the social media base going on about what Amazon workers are doing and what they're doing to fight and
what they were facing.
What they're facing, exactly, and what people need to know and what they need to be educated on, and how important it is to stand up for what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing.
So somebody on the board here, great to hear how your daughter appreciates the work you and Jackie do on a daily basis.
Yes,
that is great
very
to
much.
hear.
I even went on a little, I mean, I used to go with you to work all the time, but I
You
went
have.
with Jackie the other day, and I was just, oh my gosh. You guys are so busy, and that's why I always try to do my best to be there for you guys, I think.
Well, I do have to say this. I'll say this on the air, and it's for everybody to know for forever, and that is, as a kid, I'm obviously trying to manage being a father and all the different things. You made life for me a lot easier maybe than some of your siblings, because you never missed the bus. You were always on time. You had perfect attendance at school. I never had to wake you up. Literally, in your entire time of junior high and high school, people may not believe this. It's an absolute true fact. I never had to wake her up one time or take her to school because she missed the bus. The only times I had to take her to school is if the bus didn't show up because it broke down. One time I got this call from her, and she was in high school. Hey, Dad, can you take me to school? I'm like, it was out of the ordinary because it never happens. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What happened? Well, the bus broke down, so they're actually going to have to, we all have to figure out how to get. Oh, no problem. Like, what kid has got that track record? So there should be a big round of applause for that, because what that did is that made my life easier while I'm kind of trying to do all this stuff as a, that's part of my job, right? I got to do work.
Of course.
And if I got to chase you around.
Well, and I actually remember the first time, because you used to always wake me up in the mornings. And then I remember the first time I woke up and you were like, whoa, what are you doing up? And then, I don't know, I think in my head.
From that point on, I never had to wake you up again.
Yeah, from that point on, you never had to wake me up. But in my head, I was like, I don't need my dad waking me up every morning. I can do it myself. And I was all, that's one less thing that he needs to get up for.
See? Exactly. This could be a lesson to other kids in America. Don't have your parents wake you up. Robert, what do you think? Did your mom have to wake you up on a regular basis?
Yes, and I have 7 alarms.
And I have 7 alarms. You hear them over here?
It is hard to get up. It is hard to get up.
Did you wear pajamas to school?
I did not. I did not.
Robert in the background.
Robert's getting nervous. We're going to call Robert to the mic.
Oh, my God.
But I love wearing pajamas now, so I feel you very much, Robert.
We had the whole pajama conversation.
I remember.
Did you listen to that show?
I did, yeah.
So what do you think about the show? Like,
Well, I definitely think it's amazing. I think it's very important that you are being able to make your voice heard for everybody, and everybody's able to kind of listen in and understand
See, but I'm not trying to do this for promotion of myself, for Randy Corrigan. I'm not like, I want everybody to know who Randy Corrigan is. Like, that's not why I'm doing it.
Well, I think you're doing it for everybody to be educated on what's going on. Teachers, firefighters, especially the ones that are out in LA right now, like all these people are workers, and they're, union workers, and we're doing what we're doing to have people understand that this is a big movement. Like, these people deserve good benefits, good retirement, good health care. Like I said before, we are the backbone of America, and everybody should be treated with equal rights on how they get treated at work, and it's very important.
Yeah, speaking of the firefighters and the fires in LA, did the billboard switch over? Do you want to tell me real quick what that reads? We actually just switched all of our billboards to thank the public employees that are making sure that those fire services that are happening right now, that are needy in those various areas, if you haven't seen the billboard yet, it says Teamsters Local 1932, thank you to all public employees fighting these fires. Frontline, first responders, dispatchers, all public works and firefighters. Remember, our public works members, they're clearing roads. You've got animal control, dealing with what's going on with animals and shelters. You've got lots of public employees volunteering their time right now to make sure that that these people have a place to go in their shelters and that they're connected to resources that are necessary. And, you know, this attack that, especially lately, I've been hearing a bunch of, you got to cut all these government workers. They're lazy. They don't do this. They don't do that. Like, this is exactly what they're there for, is what we see happening right now. And that's why instead of attacking them and people saying they're not doing anything and they're not worth anything, we want to thank them. And really makes my heart warm that my daughter just sit here and obviously explain something that should be a broader message to America. And that sorry to steal your thunder there, but I just figured I'd jump in and talk about the billboards and make sure everybody pays attention to them.
No, you should. There's so many firefighters right now that are risking their lives, and
the support services around them.
Yeah, and the support around them, and everybody, and the people that have lost a lot of things. You know, my heart goes out to them truly. But it's true. A lot of people kind of just take advantage of what everyday people are. You know, I always hear you talking about janitors and even hospitality. I work in hospitality, and there are so many people that don't treat us right. And so hopefully this is also something that's getting the message out there that those everyday workers that kind of make us who we are and make the function of everything that we have, we need to appreciate them every day.
Couldn't say it better myself. Chino Valley Fire out there supporting those LA fire stations right now. So thanks for putting that in the chat. What else do you want to talk about, kid?
I mean, I don't know.
You should know. You should have this all wired. Like, seeing that you didn't get me, I couldn't come up with an agenda. What's your agenda? What are you going to cover? What are you going to talk about?
I know. Originally, I thought it was supposed to be like this big surprise, and I was supposed to just jump on the show. But Mark kind of convinced me. I was just going to sit in the back and be like, "Yay, go, Dad!" But then Mark was like, "No, you're going to go on," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, I did that.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's a good idea? But
you can definitely tell she's a Corgan. I mean, she was.
When she gets married, are you going to make your husband change his name to your name?
Honestly, nowadays, I don't even know if I am going to get married. I'm lucky to find someone out there, if I'm being honest. So I am very proud to be a Corgan, and I will carry that name.
Yes, my daughter's single, but don't you dare email me to ask her on a date. Like, boy, oh boy, I will hunt you down.
But no, honestly, Mark was the one that had the idea. I was literally just going to come over and support you and like give you a big high five.
So is there any funny stories or anything you want to tell? You got to be clean, because I know Dad's got a lot of stories that are not so clean.
Dad does have a lot of stories. I honestly think the biggest one is when we were young.
Somebody just said an embarrassing story? No. Anyway, when you were young.
You would always take us to a local 63, and me and my sisters, we would always just go to the hall, drink hot cocoa. It's crazy, like the smell, even of the local, is like embedded in my nose because you would take us so much. But I loved it just because of the community and everything, and what everybody like kind of represented there. It was just so fun to be there and like kind of see you in action, and then also just see everybody else, and everyone was so loving, and that was probably my best thing, is just always going to the local.
So let's kind of set the table, describe what you're referring to. So I'd go to the office a lot of times late at night. I'd bring the kids with me because I was a single dad a lot of the time. And even when I wasn't, I had the kids with me and had to obviously be a parent. And I'd be working in my office. I'd be writing a contract or doing stuff that I had to do in my office. And they'd be roaming around the building, and they'd be on the typewriters, and they'd be writing on stuff. And there was this. We always had this stack of scrap paper, and they would be making stuff, and they'd be pretending like you guys would all pretend like you were secretaries and worked in the office. And so everybody would have all these notes in their boxes. You guys would drop notes in the boxes. And then one time I walked out in the hall, and your sister Corey had the gavel in her hand. And she was smacking the gavel like she was running a meeting at the front of the meeting. Man, I about fell out laughing when I was like, oh my goodness, what have we turned them into? And you guys had a great old time running around the building. And you would always ask, "Are we going to go to your work, Dad?" Like,
Mhm.
like you didn't mind.
Mm-mm.
Like it was like you guys had a good time in that space, even though it
Mhm.
was like an office environment. There were no toys.
It was a playground, honestly.
you turned it into a playground.
It was a playground for us. We were able to use our imagination, and then everybody there was just so fun. And the hot cocoa was always the plus.
Very true.
When I was younger.
The best hot cocoa. Farmer Brothers hot cocoa.
Mhm.
Union Farmer Brothers hot cocoa. You push the button, bzzz, remember, and it'd
Yep.
foam it up and it'd come out and it'd be all nice and hot cocoa-y.
The best. It really was.
Okay, so I'm getting this pounding here of first of all, I got someone saying, I'm loving the show with your daughter. She's amazing.
Hmm.
Embarrassing story. Has to be an embarrassing dad story. Randy always asks for a funny story. It's important that it's an embarrassing story. Now, the cool thing is Mark, you work for me, and you have your finger near the dump button. So if it's a story I don't want told, I can cut it out real quick.
My finger is on the button.
All right. Do you have a funny story?
I
you have an
mean,
embarrassing story?
I
No,
think
I don't want to hear an embarrassing story.
it's not
Don't
really
listen to this.
embarrassing. I would say more, I mean, there have been a lot of funny moments. I would say there was one time when me and Braden were outside playing on the ripstick, you know, and you were trying to show us up. Like, I
on
can
the
do
ripstick?
this.
Oh, yeah,
I can do
jeez, I
this.
remember
Don't
this.
worry. Like, I got this. And I was all, okay, Dad, like, are you sure you want to do this? Because it requires a lot of balance. And
This was
it's-
at 63, right out in front of the hall?
no, this was in front of the house, the
Oh, at the
Boma
house.
house.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. And you got on, and like 2 seconds later, after talking all this high and mighty, you fell right down, bam, super hard. And I was all, oh my God, are you okay? So it was really interesting to see this big man just, boom, fall to the floor. I think probably that was the first one that came up to mind. I mean, I have a whole bunch of other ones, but best not to say it on the air. But he is a very fast runner, that's for sure. He can outrun all of us.
Yeah. Your brothers learned that the hard way, didn't
Yes, they did. Hmm.
they? Every one of them challenged me at some point to either run or swim or do something, some physical
Yep.
exercise. And
It just
the
never.
old man.
Yep.
The old
You
man
always beat
surprised
us.
him.
I think I always like to pretend that I could beat you up still, but
She tries. Now
I
she's
tried.
like this, doing all this crazy kickboxing and
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai, and you know, your dad knows the way around the ring a little too.
Mhm.
And
I
so
know. I'll go
it's-
throw him some punches and he'll be like, yeah, no.
I let her get a couple in, and then I go, no, this got to stop.
It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
But you're starting to hit really hard.
Yeah.
You can tell
I
the
mean,
training's coming in.
It's muscle and it's training and it's just dedication. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully one day I can be in the ring. But I don't know. We'll see.
Are you actually training to be in there? You're gonna try to compete?
I mean, that's a goal. That's one of my goals for this year is to be able to get enough training to just be able to do one little fight, you know? But we'll see what happens.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I swear I'm a very gentle, nice person, but I think it's just
She
nice
is.
to get
That's what's
some
a trip
punching
for
out.
me. It's a trip for me to see you kind of in this sport
Hmm.
because you've always, it just kind of doesn't match your. Apparently, she's been bottled up this whole time.
I didn't know
Supposed
she
to
was
beat people
training.
up.
It's amazing. It does feel amazing. I have an amazing trainer too, and she's just been so helpful. And honestly, you're able to just get so much out. You work out, you get your you get your anger out, you get emotional, mental, everything is just it's very helpful and I love it. And it's encouraging to kind of just see other fighters and I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. So we'll see.
All right. So, I still keep getting hit on an embarrassing story, but
I mean, I can't really think of any crazy embarrassing
Mark, is there anything
stories.
you wanted to see come out of this crazy idea when you started it?
It's already come out. It's come
happened
out
already?
perfect.
Has it?
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. This is good stuff over here because it's going exactly how I saw it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm sweating.
It
I
gets
don't know
hot
how
in there,
you do
doesn't it?
this all the time. I'm like,
Yeah, it gives you a deeper respect. You know, like I get all
It
these people,
does.
oh, no big deal, you run a podcast. I'm like, no, it's a live radio show.
Yeah.
Like, easy, buddy.
Mhm.
Easy. Yeah. It's funny because when I do the podcast now, I actually have a harder time doing the podcast.
Mm.
I feel like I got to have the pressure of rolling without an error to be more. I feel like I stumble more when I'm doing
Mm.
something that can be edited.
interesting. I feel like I'm stumbling so
Not at all. You're doing great.
No, you're rolling really good.
So I
I'll
don't
have
know.
to have her fill in for me when I'm out.
Oh
No?
I'd this be so much water on the floor from me being so sweaty. Like there's no way I could accomplish that. So that's why I tip my hat off to you to be able to do this every Wednesday at 2:00.
See, she can do the promo for us.
She didn't
Listen
even
to
have
my
to be
dad
coached.
every Wednesday at 2:00.
She jumped right in there. Every day or every Wednesday, 2:00. 2 to
Well,
4.
is there anything you want to say? Before we wrap up this part of the show, I really, kid, I love you. I really appreciate you coming on, and obviously for all of my kids that are listening right now, I love you all. And if you guys are trying to make me more human, okay, whatever. Like, I guess you succeeded at it. Yes, I have kids. Yes, I'm married. Yes, I have a life. I try to, and
I think we showed a success today, Randy.
and there's a human side to me. I mean, I don't. You make me feel like when I'm at work, I don't seem human. When am I this mean ogre running around doing all this crazy stuff? Or
I think we saw a really big success in your life today.
well, I am proud of you. I'm proud of what you. I'm proud of all of you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
Mhm.
Is
Well, we're all
as
very-
crazy as your father is to actually have your kids somewhat decent, let alone being really good.
Mhm.
Yeah, worked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all very proud of you. And also, I mean, we can take from you. You've taught us so much hard work and you were able to pass that on to us. And hopefully we can pass that on to our kids. And because of that, we know how to work hard and dedicate ourselves to something when we truly see something that we want. And I mean, I'm definitely speaking for all of us, all siblings, all 9 of them.
All 9 of them. That is right. And that's amazing. And for those of you who don't know, yes, she has 8 siblings, 9 of total, and lots of funny stories. I mean, we could almost do a whole show where we just bring them on and have them tell funny stories. But
Yep.
we won't do that. We'd have to have that on a non-AM FM radio. Remember, this is KCAA 1050 AM 106.5 FM. It's the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Have to do the station ID every now and then, right?
It helps. People need to know what they're listening to, right?
Right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the news in a minute. With all this Amazon stuff that you obviously witnessed firsthand, it was interesting. Do you have the name, Robert? Do you have the name of that? Was it Joe Allen or something like that? What was that guy's name? Okay. And then there's another person that I'm not going to actually say this other person's name, but I actually want to issue a challenge to some people because there's some things that I read of comments. Like I read some stuff where these individuals tried to do an evaluation of the strike after it happened. And I'm like scratching my head at these individuals that are issuing an opinion about these workers and Amazon workers that did what they did from December 19th through December 24th. And it's so bad. You got to look and go, first of all, who are you to even judge it? Number one, who are you to judge it? And some of the comments that were made and some of the subjects, amazingly from some very so-called militant leftist. What's that phrase I gave you here a minute ago? The so-called militant leftist labor is a bunch of patsies for a broken bureaucracy. What do I mean by that? Hearing people criticize what these workers were doing. Now, it's very small, by the way, because I do want to point out that the vast majority of the media attention grabbed by these Amazon workers over that time period and since has been, for the most part, positive. And most importantly, it brought to the forefront that 25 locations Amazon is obligated to bargain on behalf of their workers. 25 different locations, including one of 1,200 workers right down the street. And ironically, one of these individuals that decided to make some comments on Facebook or put some stuff out on social media or write some stuff up and make comments that they're so-called experts about it, saying that, you know, the strike was a failure, that this didn't happen, and, you know, kind of make out. And I'll in a minute after I go to a break, I'm going to pull some of that stuff in and I'm going to actually give you some specifics to it. But you probably didn't see any of the negativity from your perspective, did you?
No, I didn't see any negativity at all.
Which means it was a success for the workers.
Mm-hmm.
If you, from your vantage point, as somebody who's working every day and you're seeing it on the news, you just kind of, what is it that you saw? Obviously, you said you're a server. You work as a server,
Mm-hmm.
and you're obviously in the restaurant industry, right? So what was the tone of what you saw from your perspective these workers were doing?
I mean, they were just standing up for what they deserve. I mean, like I said before, Amazon is a large, extremely big corporation, and they could be able to afford to take care of their employees that
Boom, exactly.
work
right
every
there.
day. So why not? I mean, it's common sense. Why not just take care of your people? Like, they're the ones that are running your company.
So millions of people were able to now view firsthand on their screen, on their TV screen or on their radio or through their media outlets, understanding that workers at Amazon, one of the most successful companies on the face of the planet, are struggling to get by, and that Amazon doesn't recognize them as employees, or they're not paying them right, or they're not giving them benefits, and all the different scenarios and situations depending on each of those areas. And also that Amazon is refusing to bargain with 25 of those units that they're legally obligated to bargain under the law. And so to actually, and I'll dive into a little bit deeper at the other side of the break as to some of the legal pieces to this, like the significance of what these workers did in that time period is tells me that you got the message as just an average listener. I mean, not the average listener because you actually know, your dad is who your dad is. But the vantage point, because you live, 90 miles away, you live down in the San Diego area, and you're just seeing it on the screen, the message got out that needed to get out, which is the general public needs to understand that their packages are being delivered at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that the general public can empathize generally with that. Like, hey, and probably just did not know. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
so.
that,
Your friends that say, "Is this your dad? It looks like your dad, or it's your name, or you know what I mean?" Like,
well, and I had some people, because I did tell some people what's going on with Amazon and everything like that, and they were able to. They saw news, and I had some person that looked at an article that read about what was going on with Amazon, and it's just educating them on why what's going on is what's going on, basically.
Perfect. So that's exactly what we were after, is making sure that the workers had a platform and a message and a narrative that the general public would pick up on, so that the awareness would start to begin. What happened in that time period isn't the peak. It's just the beginning of what these workers have the capability of doing. And I really love that you picked up on the fact that over the years, your dad is always trying to move and mobilize and kind of inspire people and challenge them to do things, because this is exactly what you've been listening to in the back seat your entire life, literally. Now it's not the back seat, it's the front seat, because you weren't big enough to be in the front seat before. Is that conversation of telling that worker they can do it.
Yeah.
That the law supports you, or your rights support you, or the contract supports you, or whatever it is. And so for me to hear you, anyway, this is just, it's pretty incredible. It's amazing to hear that the message got through, and shame on those negative Nellies that say some of the stuff that they say, because you know what, if you're one of those people that think that it wasn't a success story, come right on this show, sit right here in this seat, and man, I would love to have that debate in front of everybody.
Good luck.
In front of everybody. Let's have the debate. Some of you, I'm not going to tell the name. How much time do I got, Mark? 2 minutes? 3 minutes? I'm not going to say the names because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to give you the platform without you earning it. And the only way you're going to get that platform is to come on here, and then we'll talk about who you are. I'm going to talk about some of the things that you said and the comments that you made that really upset a lot of people that are actually in the fight, the workers themselves. Mm-hmm. If your goal is to try to demoralize workers, and ironically, as much as you claim to be a labor advocate or a militant or whatever it is, you're actually repeating corporate America's message by saying some of the things that you said. And by saying, oh, this was just a big dog and pony show. This was, it was this, it was that. And again, I'm going to get into those specific comments that were made in a few minutes. But I want to issue you a challenge. Come on the show, and I'm not going to say who you are because I don't want people Googling you or looking you up on Facebook or looking at you somewhere in this information and finding you and giving you any platform or light that you don't deserve. Because speaking negatively about the situation that these workers are doing right now is just kind of is disgusting. With that, I'm going to switch over to a break here in a minute. This is Randy Corrigan, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the Worker Power Hour, Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Don't forget, I'm a longtime organizer, first-time radio host, and longtime father. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that. Mark, take it away. Take us to the mandatory break.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. The Palisades fire burning in the hills above Malibu has doubled in size since Wednesday morning's estimates.
The fire has grown from originally 10 acres to 10,802 acres as we speak.
Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley provided an update for President Joe Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom, who visited the Fire Command Center. The Palisades fire has destroyed more than 1,000 structures. Tens of thousands of people remain under mandatory evacuation orders. 2 people have been killed in the Eaton fire. Meanwhile, the Hearst fire has burned more than 500 acres north of San Fernando. Members of the public are paying their respects to former President Jimmy Carter. A long line of people began filing past Carter's casket in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda Tuesday evening. The 39th president, who died December 29th at his home in Georgia, will lie in state at the Capitol until 7 a.m. local time Thursday. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000 member strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Meet Barkley. When Barkley smells gas, he leaves fast. When Barkley hears hissing coming from a gas appliance, he leaves fast. When Barkley sees dirt or water shooting from the ground, he leaves fast. Barkley then calls 911 and Southwest Gas from a safe location.
Did that dog just grab a phone and dial 911?
Gas lines can be buried anywhere, so remember to call 911 and Southwest Gas.
In these times, sometimes you have to take away the stress or dress to impress. Lux Transportation has just the ticket for you and your needs to relax, kick your feet up in style, and make new fun memories. Looking for a hassle-free, comfortable ride? Experience the ultimate in luxury. Transportation in a sleek, luxurious black-on-black SUV. Private, discreet rides, airport runs, sightseeing, proms, weddings, and romantic date nights are all ahead in your future with Lux Transportation. Karaoke, disability-friendly, and no problem, we're also senior citizen-friendly too. Call or text Mr. Hollins to take away the stress at 951-399-5425. That's 951-399-5425. Lux Transportation, when you need the absolute best.
You've eaten lots of great food and not so great food at restaurants. Cowboy Burgers in Fontana and now in Arlington and Riverside will fast become one of your favorites. With their delicious, mouth-watering burgers and breakfast burritos. Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue also serves fantastic smoked barbecue baby back ribs, tri-tip, chicken, pulled pork sandwiches, as well as lunch and dinner plates. Everything is made from scratch, including their delicious side dishes like coleslaw, potato salad, barbecue beans, and much, much more. Check out their rich, decadent chocolate brownies.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and you can dine in, take food out, or have them cater your next special event. I highly recommend Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue at their new location at 5573 Arlington Avenue in Riverside. Just look them up on the internet. That's Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue. Happy eating!
And perfect for the holidays, Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue is also available for catering. That's Cowboy Burgers and Barbecue in Fontana and now in Riverside on Arlington. Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
All right, that was a slow intro with then coming at you. I'm not good at remembering band names and all that. Randy Corrigan, the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, live from San Bernardino. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. Boy, that was pretty amazing having my daughter on. Matter of fact, you know what? I another one of my kids, you guys are going to laugh. I got a text, and okay, Carly is the favorite. It's been said on the air. I did not say that. If you're listening still, and oh yeah, they're listening still. If you're listening still, I never said that she was the favorite. I just said I really appreciated what she did in that specific situation.
Row, Raggy.
Uh-oh, right. No.
Row.
And this is all in good fun too. I'm assuming. So good to see some of the other kids were actually listening. And then oh, nice. I just got a picture from. I hope my girls have the same stories. Yeah, a picture of one of Carlos's girls in the office working on the computer. Yes, it's great to have. It's great. It's. Man, I used to have so much fun just kind of watching them as I'm working, watching them have fun in the office and just make do, you know? Like I didn't put a movie on. I didn't let them bring a bunch of toys.
That was the greatest thing for kids was to go to dad's work.
Yeah.
My kids went down to 63 all the time. My mom would take them down there when she babysat them, and they would go run around the hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the kids, actually at 63, you could see where they grew up over the years at all the functions. And the same thing will happen here at 1932. You'll see, after 30 years, you'll see kids, they're born, and they're with Santa, and then they're at a picnic, and then they're at this, and they're at that. And then you'll actually see an entire generation grow up. And then, in some cases, multiple generations grow up. So this is awesome to see. And yes, somebody asked, is that the same Scott from 63? Yes, that's Scott from 63. Yes, you are. So it was good. Good call. I guess we'll hear from the listeners whether or not they thought that it was a good call with Carly.
I got a little intense look before we went on the air, though.
Hey, you guys caught me by surprise, and then my son, who happens to be in Japan right now, I don't know if he's listening live or not, but he just said he got off a 3-hour train ride on a high-speed train to Osaka. Osaka. I have no idea where Osaka is in Japan. Somewhere in Japan.
I've heard those trains are clean and they're...
This kid, I have a hard time following him on the map because where I find my friends, and he's in Europe, he's over here, he's over here. He's like, I gotta. Once I looked, he was in Italy, and I go, what are you doing? Hey kid, are you gonna let me know like where you're at and what you're doing? Like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Like, how do you forget to tell you that you're going to Malta? Like, whatever.
I forgot to tell you I'm going to Rome today.
Whatever. Good for him. And Carly, you've you got to see Europe right after you graduated high school, right? And another funny story, like it gave Carly a choice when she graduated. It was either a car or before she graduated when she was in high school, buying her a nice car, a decent car, and I wouldn't say nice, but a decent car, or it was a trip to Europe after graduation, and she actually chose the trip to Europe instead of the car.
Good choice.
Yeah, good choice. It was a good choice. And she does nothing but talk about that amazing experience. And so, yeah, if you're going to use the mic here, you need to get it a little closer to you, buddy. So back to the news. There's this one here. Oh, my God. Who's this reporter? Sean Higgins. Oh, my God. And this is a lefty type of...
They're kind of neutral on like unions overall, but yeah, this was an interesting one.
The Teamsters imaginary strike against Amazon. I swear to God, I'm looking right at it. It exists. Mm-hmm. The union doesn't represent any Amazon employees and is relying on its allies in the mainstream media to hype its supposed strike. This has got to be somebody a front for Amazon. This has got to be somebody. What's actually got me fired up on this subject is that individuals like Joe Allen, who touts to be, a radical and a militant and a leftist and kind of in this space of trying to do really aggressive things when it comes to whatever the politics are, should fit right in this mold. And to hear things like this from circles like that, first of all, that's a straight up lie. We actually represent 25 units now. When the strike happened, it was 24, and then the legal deadline for Amazon was December 26th.
On a Sunday.
For KSBD, they didn't file their legal response in that case because they're going to actually argue that it's all unconstitutional. And so to actually read, go ahead and put that back up right there. To read that we don't represent any Amazon employees. Okay, well, let's take those scenarios out of it and let's talk about the JFK 8 group that won a union election in March of 2022, that was certified by the board, and the company is using every legal obstacle to not go to the table and to bargain. And so we don't represent those workers either? Like that group of workers affiliated with us in June of 2024. And so, like, I'm sorry you feel as if the media, we were able to actually get the narrative out there that benefited the workers. I'm sorry that you feel as if that it didn't tell the story correctly. I mean, I don't think the story's even with all that success, the story's still not told enough because there's this doubt that our workers, they even have a right to do this. Let me make something clear. Like, some of the things I read, and one person in particular wrote something saying that this was all a show and that something was done in New York and that was legitimate, but we didn't do anything in San Bernardino. I don't know about you, Robert, but I was actually standing there when more than 100 workers walked off the job in San Bernardino and put their picket line up at KSBD on behalf of the 1,200 in that bargaining unit because a demand for recognition was made on that facility a couple weeks earlier. Right. Did you witness that?
Right, and I was actually
I
recorded that. you know, like of them literally walking out of their job. And
So how mad did it make you to see that Facebook post? Don't mention the person's name.
Yeah.
Because somebody can take these clips and send it to him.
Right.
And if he wants to get a cup of coffee or come on this show and have a cup of coffee and explain what he would say, what he said.
To be honest, I wasn't mad. I was disappointed because it's like if you're claiming to be a Teamster and you're talking about, you're bringing down a movement, right? And you're talking bad about them on a public social media platform, shouldn't it be unity and not division? You know, like this is something
Which
for
is why we're
workers.
not going to give the name, because I don't want everybody looking it up
Right,
and then
right.
going and attacking that person.
Yeah, but
because
the
all
thing
that
is-
does what that person wants.
Yeah, but you and I were both there when we saw those workers literally walk off the job. You know, and now the Instagram views, Mario texted me the other day, it's reaching over 2 million views on our social media.
From the KSBD walk off the job.
Right.
The KSBD demand for recognition is actually over 12 million views now, right?
The TikTok video, yeah.
The TikTok video. Correct?
Yeah. And what's interesting is that
But it didn't happen.
Right.
It's imaginary.
Well, I mean, even this article, I wish people can see it. The headline is a Teamsters imaginary strike against Amazon. Yet they have a literal photo of about a dozen Teamsters on
On
strike.
a picket line.
So it's like, it's like, and
yeah, that's a good point. That's
right?
a picture of a
It's
picket
picture
line.
of a literal picket line, and the headline is a Teamsters imaginary strike. But it's like, okay, cool. Well, someone took this photo of a strike, and you put it on this article, and you're saying it's not a strike.
What they're claiming is that there wasn't enough Amazon workers on the strike, is what they're claiming. There only has to be one, technically.
Right.
Technically. And there's clearly more than one. But regardless of how many were on, what Amazon kept saying is these people on the picket line are outsiders. They're this. No, these are your customers, Amazon, number one. These are other people in the industry. These are community leaders.
I mean, it's called solidarity.
Right.
I mean, you saw
you're
Slow Boom
supposed to
Coffee.
only have people on the picket line that walked off the job, and that's it. Nobody with them.
Right.
That's it. Nobody.
Right. You saw, small shops like Slow Boom Coffee and Redlands come and support KSBD workers when they walked off the job. They brought free coffee, they brought food, they brought pastries, and it's like, I'm sure we've all ordered on Amazon
Well, they're
before,
outsiders.
right? But they're outsiders and they're this and that. But yeah, and it's funny because we really dominated the media in this imaginary quote unquote strike, right? We dominated the media. Social media everything was in our favor, to the point where it was a Wednesday night before everything kicked off, and I got a phone call from IBT comms people, and they were like, everything's about to kick off. You have to be a point of contact for press for Randy down there. And it was crazy because then that next morning, that Thursday when I woke up, boom, everything was like a light switched or something, and then I had all these voicemails saying, can Randy speak on
You had
CNN?
ABC, CBS,
Yeah.
NBC. You had them all.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and we lined them up.
BBC.
Yeah, the BBC World News. Like it was fun, but also it was like, wow, like this is gonna kick off
real.
really. Like I felt the pressure in that moment. I was like, this is not no joke, right? When Randy first hired me, he said, this is gonna be a tough role, but you can, I trust that you can do it. That was that moment where that line came back in my head from my interview, and I was like, dang, like he wasn't joking around. But all that to say is that we really dominated the media to the point where Amazon had no choice but to respond, and their response was, they're not our employees. Or,
Well, I was standing on the picket line
Yeah.
in industry, and because in the city of industry, like in Victorville, that was a DSP where these are drivers that Amazon claims are not their drivers. So I actually had a reporter, and this is a reporter that's nationally recognized as a reporter. The reporter standing there going, so you're telling me, Randy, now all this wasn't filmed, but in the exchange, he says, you're telling me that Amazon... These are Amazon saying these are not their employees, but they're driving an Amazon van. They're in an Amazon uniform. They have Amazon equipment. Everything looks Amazon. They're driving out of an Amazon building.
Right.
It all looks like Amazon. How is it? He actually asked me, Randy, how is it that they're claiming that they're not their employees? I said, that would be a good question for you to have of them, wouldn't it? Isn't that incredible? And so then I gave him the legal sort of breakdown of it, and he went, "Oh my God, that's so." Basically, what they're trying to do is just completely dump responsibility. You were going to say something, Mark?
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck.
Right. And here's the example that reporter gave me. I thought was a great example. He's like, it's interesting. He's obviously he was a national reporter, and he's like, that's like being in another country and there being like a war, or there being troops on the ground, and there's a contractor that is doing some of the work for the United States government there, and they have American tanks, they have American uniforms, they have American equipment, and then saying and claiming those are not Americans. I looked at them and I go, you get it. How come they don't?
Well, I mean, it's disrespectful to the workers, right? Like, I don't know if you saw it in the news. I don't think you mentioned it earlier, but Samsung is in the same is in the same boat as Amazon, where they were just ruled as a joint employer, I think 2 days ago, by the National Labor Relations Board. And it's like now they are legally obligated to bargain with the Samsung's union, and they're not doing that. So I think it's disrespectful to an employee. Like, it's like me working for you, and Randy's like, oh, Robert's not my employee, but I wear Teamsters merch, I have a little pin on, I have the title and all this stuff, right? Like, I think it's just a disrespect, a slap in the face to workers.
So I had a driver from the Local 63 group at a Victorville who, the morning they walked off the job and put their picket line up, actually, because by the time Victorville did it, New York had already done it, and there was about 6 or 7 hours of picketing before Victorville had gone online. And he was struck by the fact that he heard Amazon's comment that those are not our employees. And he said, I get that I technically work for this contractor, but everything I do represents Amazon. And do you know how disheartening, his words were, do you know how disheartening it is to hear that be said about me? He goes, I'm the guy out there representing the brand. And you're on national media, you're basically saying, but you're not mine. I think that, in my opinion, this imaginary strike,
quote unquote,
so-called imaginary strike, did exactly what we wanted it to do, because now millions upon millions of people, tens of millions of people, if not more than that, know that these delivery drivers, just minimally, those delivery drivers, that Amazon doesn't want to claim them. And how unfair. Now, think about how many people are kind of in this space on a regular basis. It's kind of a joke. Like, Amazon couldn't get any traction on their message. Like, they kept saying, oh, the Teamsters Union keeps falsifying, misleading. And I would, whenever a reporter would call me, this is the line I would give them. Isn't having an Amazon uniform, an Amazon vehicle, Amazon equipment, isn't that misleading if they don't work for you? If you want to talk about anybody being misleading, isn't Amazon misleading? And also saying that we don't represent these workers. Well, what about the workers in New York at JFK 8 that voted, a majority of those workers voted to be represented by a union in the NLRB election? How does that not count either? So what is the way that the workers, I keep asking a reporter to put Amazon on the point and say, then how do the workers gain a union? If Amazon's arguing that it's unconstitutional in one breath, because they're before multiple courts arguing that the National Labor Relations Act is unconstitutional, ignoring their obligation to bargain at JFK 8, ignoring their obligation to bargain in these 25 other units across the country that just exercised their right to strike just before Christmas. If that's not the way to do it, then what is? I keep asking the reporters, can somebody get a straight answer from them? Because, and you know what the reporters always say off the record? So that's a good question. That kind of puts them in a trick bag, doesn't it? And I go, I'd like to know. I would kind of like to know, this big, smart corporation, then what is the legal way for these workers to have a union contract? Because they've tried everything, and you keep ignoring it. And this is what it's boiled down to in America right now, is that corporate America thinks that if you're big enough and you're bad enough, that you can just buy your way over the top of everybody, that you could just run everybody over. And this is a perfect example of that. Now you see Bezos running to Mar-a-Lago and begging him to save us from the Teamsters. Like, come on, Don, you got to know, you and Sean got each other's phone numbers, right? You and O'Brien got each other's phone numbers. You're going to have to. And now it just showed that he's paying $40 million, that Amazon's paying $40 million to do the documentary on Melania Trump.
Yeah, and
like this is if you got the money, you can get away with it. Is essentially what you're saying to the American people. I mean, I hope that's not what the American people want. What is it? If you just got more money, you win? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, to add to your point, I think it's important for people to know that Amazon isn't dumb. They know that we actually do represent these workers. They know that the momentum is building, right? That's why you saw Bezos literally book the next flight to he has a private jet actually, so doesn't have to book, right?
He just got one of his jets out.
Right, yeah. He got his assistant or whatever, and so he went straight to D.C. at Mar-a-Lago, which is now the new White House, but that's a whole other thing.
Florida.
Yeah. And so anyways, my point is, you're seeing that he feels the pressure, right? And he's not dumb. His press people know exactly what to say to the press, which is deny, and say that, no, they don't represent these workers. And in a way, they're not winning at all.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
They tried to say that on day one and hour 2, hour 3.
And in fact, they copied and pasted that statement and just sent it to all these press, and that's the only message they did. So they lost on the PR and comms game for sure. But the other thing is that
it's imaginary, though.
Right, it's imaginary. That this got exactly what we wanted, right? It got the traction we wanted.
So why did Amazon respond on cable news networks if it was imaginary?
Right. They were forced to. It was just too many.
Absolutely forced to.
And if it was imaginary, then it was imaginary that it was 40 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning when Carlos and the rest of us were on the strike line.
Right. With the workers.
Out there pounding
the imaginary strike. Yeah, the workers were on the picket line. Yeah.
Well, and not just, it was solidarity, right? Like, people don't understand. I think something that, one of my goals, right, in comms in this field is, like, getting people to know how a union operates and how it works, right? Because people don't know, like, if, let's say, one group of workers go on strike, you're going to have people in other unions, like Ask Me, SEIU. We had SEIU here, too, on the picket line at KSBD. Like, it's called solidarity. Like, we're all going to be there because an attack on one union is an attack on all. So I think people don't understand that. Like, of course, you're going to see.
Went to one of the picket lines too.
Yeah, she and she had
Lorena
texted
Gonzalez,
me. She was,
for those you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, she texted me. She goes, I'm going down there. I know Randy has a show all covered, but I really want to go there during my break. So just know that I'm leaving Big Bear to go, on the strike. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, Randy has made it before. Like, he doesn't care if it's Christmas or if you had plans, cancel them. I had already told my family that the Teamsters are stealing Christmas. So don't worry about it, right? We're the Grinch. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna be on the picket line. But to wrap the whole Amazon thing up from my end, I think it was fascinating to see the solidarity, to see the media react to it. The journalist calls. We had a lot of Spanish news that was on it too. My own aunt has like a baby shower this Saturday, and she sends me a picture of her Amazon packages, and she goes, "These better be delivered before the baby shower. If not, I'm gonna have an issue with Teamsters." So it was a funny moment.
And that brings I had a staff member bring this up a little earlier, that we had lots of people that would call and say, "Hey, is a strike over because I got to order some stuff." It brought so much awareness. And I know we talked about the Coors boycott earlier. I want to make something, be very clear about it, is we're not asking people to boycott Amazon. As a matter of fact, we're doing the opposite. What we're doing is it's okay for people to utilize Amazon. What you want to do is you want to greet that Amazon worker at the door. You want to greet that Amazon worker when you see them, or you see their uniform, or maybe you see them getting lunch somewhere. What you want to do is you want to shake their hand and you want to congratulate them on the work that they're doing and that you support them. And you want to tell them, I support you. Your employer should support you too. I support you and your efforts and what we see happening all over the country. That is what Amazon can't stop, because we're not being the so-called bad guy. And for these people that said their imaginary stuff, and I find it ironic, one of these individuals who's criticized me before for having a very aggressive picket line and for being overly aggressive as an individual on a picket line many, many years ago. that I was the thuggish behavior in which I engaged in this picket line activity that I had was actually arguing the opposite, in that this picket line that was very peaceful and very engaging, and it wasn't an attack and a fight and in that sort of picket line, because it was a picket line of awareness, and it's not informational picketing. It was a legitimate picket line, but it was a picket line where people were reaching out and talking to the workers and explaining how this can grow. This isn't the peak. This isn't the peak. This is the beginning. Mm-hmm. And that person, who I'm not going to name names, that person was criticizing that the picket lines weren't aggressive enough. Mm-hmm. And it can almost go back like 10 or 15 years and pull some old stuff and say, you're just...
That's a civil matter.
That's right.
Them going in and out is a civil matter. It's a civil matter. They have an obligation to go to court, and you know that. And what you're going to do is you're going to violate everybody's civil rights here. And if you do it, we're going to hold every single one of you accountable. Have a good day.
One of them actually nicknamed me, and funny thing is they weren't the first ones to actually nickname me this. My mother-in-law actually got me a flack that had this phrase on it, the Corganizer. Mm-hmm. And so there's somebody here that's taking some shots at me saying, oh, the Corganizer needs a lesson on mobilizing workers. And they were actually taking a shot at what was going on in New York. Mm-hmm. Hey, buddy, I built the New York team. I trained the New York team. I hired the New York team. And I put the New York team together and actually picked New York to be the first one to put the line up, because it was the most amount of time we had spent in a particular geography with the best amount of work, with all the platforms being covered within the organization. And Local 804 did a phenomenal job of delivering in all those aspects over a multi-year period. And as a result, they got very high success as far as participation, growth, awareness, activity on the line.
So much that Amazon poured water. They were releasing their water from the sewage, right?
It's not sewage, it was water from the roof.
From the roof, sorry.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow. And keep in mind, it's cold in New York as heck right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that was horrible.
Were those,
and the police, too, were being insane.
Were those arrests in New York imaginary, too?
Right.
Yeah, and ironically, the work that we had done was able to keep, when those arrests happened, we were able to get those people released right away. We had prepared for 3 police agencies in this country to overstep their boundaries, New York being one of them. Mm-hmm. And all those individuals that got arrested, we had them back on the picket line within like 5 hours. Mm-hmm. In New York. I mean, in a system that you can get completely lost in, right? Had them plucked back in, and then there's a lawsuit going on with New York and a bunch of stuff we had to work through. So the international and our legal team and everybody did a phenomenal job of working through all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But again, the danger in people having their political agenda for whatever reason to minimize the work of these workers is what I'm getting at here. Is that you're gonna reiterate literally Amazon's talking points, and I don't know. It's,
yeah, I mean, I think
how'd that make you, being new to this world and seeing something like, you're probably you're just so disappointed by it.
I am very disappointed. I think that's the right word. I'm more disappointed than I am mad, because I feel like, yes, you can have your beef with people, right? Individually, you can have your beef with people and, where they come from or what they've done in the past. But I think if you're in a union and you're, there is a point of level where you have to have some type of level of respect, and, respect is earned also. But what I'm trying to say is I think we all have to come together in these moments of time, right? Just put away our beef. This is what I hope for in the future, where you can put away your beef with someone and just go on the picket line, do what you're supposed to do, and then after, if you have an issue, that's the time to, say, hey, Randy, I think you could have done it this way, or hey, I think you could have done it this way, right? But in a moment where our union is literally under attack by a multi-trillion-dollar company, I think it's not right to do that in that time.
Yeah, and let's not underscore the work that these workers did. Mm-hmm. Like, these workers however big or small the number is. These workers walked off the job, turned around, looked at one of the biggest employers on the face of the planet, and said, I got the right to do this, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
That's an inspiration, regardless of anybody's opinion, anybody's remark of thinking it needs to be this way, or the picket line should be violent, or this or that. Like, we legitimately wanted those picket lines to be engaging, to where even though workers were crossing, this wasn't like a contract has expired and everybody that's crossing is a scab. That is different. A picket line of growth, where you're beginning something and you're starting to show people the way, is embracing, and you're embracing them to join the picket line, not cross a line because you're scabbing on your fellow brother or sister.
Or tearing it down. I think, calling this an imaginary strike, I think it's another disrespectful point to workers. Because workers literally, I've seen it firsthand, Randy has seen it across the country, literally walked off the job. To call them that what they did was imaginary, if I was an Amazon worker, I would become a keyboard warrior and start going on Facebook myself and going off, Like, I think that's just disrespectful, one. And two, it's like, for me as a new Teamster, I think it's just very disappointing.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, do you mind giving us a real quick, 30-second or 60-second break? Some cool music. Song? All right. Randy Corrigan, the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. It's the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. And don't forget, we're live from San Bernardino.
forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of. Killing in the name of. Now you do what they told you. 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 Now you do what they told you.
All right, I'm back. Randy Corrigan of the Worker Power Hour, longtime organizer, first-time radio host, and also lifetime dad, right?
Yeah. How many times?
Yeah, a few times over. Again, and I still have Carly in the studio here, sitting here watching, and it's cool to have the kids listening and having them kind of chime in on some things. I have a family chat that's going, it's on fire right now, that everybody's chatting back and forth. So, again, at the end of the day, we're all human. I do have a human side to me. So that always worries me when somebody says, we need to see the human side to Randy, because it makes me feel like I'm not a human at work.
No, you're a human at work.
I don't know. You guys are going to have to figure out how to doll this one up. You're going to have to dress this up.
It's a matter of just showing.
Should I ask my staff here?
Yeah, ask the staff.
Am I a human at work?
You're a human at work. We just wanted to show that cuddly family side.
I wouldn't call myself cuddly, would you?
Not at all, but I was trying to be a descriptive.
She's shaking her head over here.
Cuddly,
not cuddly. But I do hug you. I do hug you. Okay. I'm not cuddly. Anyway. All right. Well, hopefully everybody enjoys this part of. I have somebody here saying they wanted a juicier story. So, maybe if you think of a juicier story, we'll get you back on before the end of the hour. I do got some news. I do have some news to cover, and then I also have one last point to make with this Joe Allen guy who touts himself as a radical and a militant, and a critical assessment. Who are these people to do a critical assessment of one of the largest, insanely difficult, like, movements of workers with one of the biggest corporations on the face of the planet? Who is qualified to do an assessment on that? I'm just curious. I'm just curious who is qualified. Apparently, Joe Allen thinks he's qualified to do that assessment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw this on Facebook, and I immediately sent it to Randy because I was like, wait a minute, like, it's this quote-unquote critical assessment. And after I read the whole thing, I don't know if Randy's read it.
I read it.
Like, the first paragraph literally tells you the Teamsters launched an unprecedented 5-day strike, right? And then towards the end of the article, it says that this, quote, strike, and he puts it in all caps, was imaginary. And I'm like, okay, so in the beginning, you say that it's a strike, a 5-day strike, unprecedented, and then later down the article, you call it an imaginary strike, you know? I think that was a laugh in the face for whoever wrote this.
Take some of the things you took out of here. I gotta pull some of these quotes out.
And they also quoted like some law
I'm gonna get
person.
into other news, by the way. Obviously, I'm a little fired up by this. I'm a little fired up by this. Like,
use your two fingers.
Oh, I got to use my two. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Like, quoting authors and people that have never organized a worker. Like, you're referencing resources. And may I say something most importantly? I get every single day, Robert will tell you, I get multiple media requests to talk about this subject. Mm-hmm. This person never asked us for our comment or what we would like to have shared, or hey, I'm going to run a story. This is, I'd like to have your input on this. No. This person had an agenda to run this story. Right. Regardless, they were just going to write whatever they wrote.
Well, it's also left wing too. I mean,
that's what's got me fired up is you tout yourself as a left wing liberal, yet you're undermining the workers and not even telling the real story here. This is coming from somebody who was literally there. And
also, I wonder if this Joe Allen guy actually went to a picket line.
He would if he'd have went to the picket line.
This would have been a different
story. He would have said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's true.
He would have said, I went to a picket line.
Show a little picture or something.
Right. I went to a picket line, and this is what I found.
Right.
And what's funny is we're not going to sit here and lay out all the strategies on the air. The picket lines had different strategies in different areas for different reasons with different effects all over the entire country. I will tell you there were nearly 200 picket lines at one point across the whole country, which has never happened before on a company of that size. So for an organizing, you've had UPS happen in '97 when the contract renewal happened. But when you're talking about organizing a facility, organizing an employer and what these workers were doing, it's crazy to see how they tried to brand this. And if you are that supportive of workers and you are somebody who believes that you want to help, the kind of the leftist causes, which you guys have heard how Republicans and Democrats can be supportive of working people, and I'm overly critical here now of those on the left that are literally undermining exactly what they say that the Republicans don't do. So no, you got to walk the walk, buddy, not just talk the talk. And so they refer to some picket lines in Oregon, and they refer to some picket lines in some other areas, and they were not antagonistic, and they were not this, and they were not that. Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, we're looking at it now. I wish people can see this. Maybe I can find a way to post it later. But if you scroll to this paragraph here, in the beginning of this article, it says it's an imaginary strike. But then at the first line of a later paragraph, it literally gives the strike a credibility when it says, when I was at the picket line, I'd say around 40, I saw around 45 through 50 Amazon drivers on the picket line. So
right, as a quote from somebody.
Right.
Correct.
Who was at the City of Industry picket line. So it's like, okay, so you're giving it credibility. To me, I can't
imaginary.
fathom with this. You can't say that on the air, but I can't fathom with this type of
junk.
So it's
Junk.
It's just whatever. I think it was.
I'm doing this because I'm issuing a challenge to any of these people that want to legitimize themselves by coming on here, sitting right in this chair, and let's having this debate in front of everybody else. I don't think that they will.
No.
And I'd really have a good time with it. But at the end of the day, let's talk about some other news. Maybe I'll rattle on about that more here in a minute. But in 1932 news, let me flip the page and get to that. We've had a banner year. I'd like to actually just do a quick little rollout of all of the good stuff that we've done in 2024. Just some highlights. Major 1932, like a recap of like, let's just put the stuff at the top of what the local was able to accomplish. We helped elect over 20 elected officials in the last election cycle alone. Those elected went through our endorsement process, and congratulations to them. And we also got to hold them accountable. We got to make sure that they do the things that are necessary to support working people. And it's not just about saying what you want to say in the endorsement process; it's also about delivering. And we had major organizing victories. Coachella Water, we had over 400 workers at Coachella Water, Desert Water Agency, 80 workers at Desert Water Agency, KSBD. Absolutely, that's an organizing victory. We demanded recognition. If the employer disagrees with that demand, they have a right to challenge that and file an RM petition. And they chose not to do that. They have 15 days to file that. They did not file that petition. And therefore, it's considered, and from our perspective and the board's perspective, which Amazon thinks is unconstitutional, they're an established unit of 1,200, more than 1,200 workers at KSBD, which is the air hub here in San Bernardino. The city of Montclair, we had Shred-it. We also had the San Bernardino city workers as all huge organizing victories for 2024. Huge contract wins for the Montclair Public Works, the Fontana Public Works and Fontana General Unit, as well as the Rialto mid-managers. And may I point out that our Fontana group was able to add a retiree medical component for the future. The San Bernardino healthcare workers received early pay increases for the San Bernardino County healthcare workers in conjunction with the SB 525 earlier than required. Confire dispatchers won their first Teamster contract. And on our communication side, we have a strong PR game with billboards, bus ads, social media growth, local and media pressure. And you're going to see this year us really use the Teamster 1932 app more. And we know we haven't utilized that to its full potential and thus far. And that will be, isn't that right, Robert?
Yeah, I'm actually excited. I had a couple meetings yesterday about it.
So there other stuff you're not excited about?
Well, yeah, there's this particular one, yes. Because yesterday I was telling Randy I discovered all these tools at my disposal that I didn't know I had, right? They were just like in the little box, right? And I didn't know I had them. Right. So yeah, I discovered that yesterday, and I think it's gonna be pretty incredible what we do this year, especially because if I knew this earlier, I would have been using it. But anyways, I'm glad that I caught it now, and it's gonna be. This is what I'm using, right? I'm gonna make our comms game at 1932. Yeah, I'm gonna make it innovative. That's what I'll say. It's gonna be innovative.
Look, Robert, I'll say this on the air. You're doing a great job, and you're new to the team, and I was so happy to hear you say what you said, because one of the things I was going to focus on with you was us utilizing our app more. Mm-hmm. Literally over the next few days, I was going to have that conversation with you. So for you to actually come to me and tell me what you told me yesterday, I was like, all right, cool. I don't even have to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. So clearly we do have those tools. We just got to utilize them more. And, it's hard to run an organization like this where we're actually utilizing all those resources. But all in all, I think it's important for us to recognize that we're making 1932 a powerhouse in the Inland Empire and making it known that the era of bullying and intimidating workers is over, and it's time for workers to continue to build worker power. And they're going to do it under our banner and do it with our banner. And 2025 is going to be even more successful than 2024 was. Another reminder, the KCEA app in Apple Store or Google Play is for you. Make sure that you download those. In IBT news, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters news, Utah Central Railway workers have become Teamsters. Workers at Utah Central Railway, a subsidiary of Patriot Rail, have voted unanimously to unionize with the Teamsters. These new members are now part of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen of the Teamsters Rail Conference. They would have had an election under the RLA, which is a Railroad Labor Act. And the Patriot Rail owns and operates more than 30 regional short-line railroads nationwide. The Utah Central Railroad or Railway is the first Patriot Rail property to join the Teamsters. I believe that they're in the UTU and some of the other transportation unions that handle similar crafts. Also, Ecology, U.S. Ecology, and Republic Works become Teamsters. Workers at the U.S. Ecology and Republic Services facility in Hesperia, California, have voted to unionize with Teamsters 396. That was a Freudian flub there. I was going to say 1932. I'm going to call Vic, get him back on the show, and tell him, what are you doing in our jurisdiction? You're in our backyard, buddy. Republic Services is the second largest solid waste company in America. Despite raking in billions every year, the corporation refuses to treat its workers fairly and unleashes union-busting campaigns against them. There's a lot to organize. There's a lot of trash workers that are actually non-union out here in the IE. If you see one of them, reach out to them, shake their hand, tell them to join the Teamster family, and we'll be organizing them soon. Many of them have the ability to organize very effectively if we encourage them. And remember, the best organizer we have out there is actually a fellow coworker, maybe somebody in the industry more specifically, would be the best, but another Teamster would be better, and then another Teamster in the same industry is the perfect scenario. And it's what we call true worker power. And so we also have businesses sue the state over new workplace law. Of course, as we get the legislature and the governor to sign all kinds of stuff to protect workers, everybody screams and hollers and says, oh, it's terrible, it's horrible. And then they turn around and sue, and then those employers try to claim credit for when things go the right way. Anyway, last year, California state legislature passed a bill banning captive audience meetings. And so now the California Chamber of Commerce, now remember, we're in 26 of them, and the California Restaurant Association filed a lawsuit on New Year's Eve saying that the law violates their First Amendment rights. Yeah, now they want to argue their First Amendment rights. It's funny to see the hypocrisy in these arguments. You got these huge corporations arguing that certain things are unconstitutional. Unions can't do this, we can't do that, and then we get them to pass a law that you can't force people into these captive audience meetings and force them to listen about how bad unions are. Since when have you cared how workers spend their money? You don't care where they get their mortgage. You don't care where they buy their car from. You don't care how much they're spending on interest rates for the credit cards. You're not doing anything to help your workforce when it comes to how they spend their money. But paying dues, you'll spend millions of dollars working against that. And so it's going to stand up to this challenge. But at the end of the day, this law protects workers from intimidation. And so workers should have the right to choose. Isn't it free speech to choose whether or not to go to that forced meeting? Like, hello? Anyway, Google should be forced to bargain with contractors union. U.S. Labor Agency says the National Labor Relations Board last week ruled that Google is a joint employer and they are required to bargain with the employees union, which is called Alphabet Workers Union. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Google does the same thing that Amazon's doing, which is ignoring they're obligated to bargain in a joint employer situation. The drivers at Amazon have been ruled that they're in a joint employer situation. And so just as a quick bit of information for all of you that watched all the great media coverage we got on Amazon I actually have this list in front of me for you on the camera. You can see this. We had 20,000 news clips, media clips between radio and TV during the strike activities between December 19th and 24th. And on December 20th alone, there was 5,934 news clips that spoke about what these workers are doing. As an example, the New York Times on 12/19, Amazon workers at 7 distribution centers walk out. The Washington Post, Amazon hit by Teamster strike during a rush holiday. Washington Post, as Amazon strike raises specter of delays, shoppers make backup plans. Wall Street Journal, thousands of Amazon workers strike during the pre-Christmas rush. This is all the imaginary strike, right? Thousands of Amazon workers go on strike Thursday. CNN, Reuters, Amazon workers strike at 7 U.S. facilities ahead of the Christmas rush. Remember, there more came on after that. On that Saturday, even more walked off the job. Amazon workers, AP News, Amazon workers strike at multiple facilities as Teamsters seek labor contract. NBC News, Teamsters announce strike against Amazon amid holiday delivery rush. CNBC, Amazon workers strike against 7 facilities at peak holiday. Imaginary? Whatever.
Package panic.
Look, workers walking off the job affected those operations. The workers that walked off the job know how much they affected those operations. We don't need to convince any media outlet or some dummy reporting something that knows nothing about what they're talking about, or anybody who wants to do an assessment afterwards. First of all, I've been an organizer for over 30 years. I know who's qualified to do an assessment on this situation and who's not. These people that are doing assessments on this situation are not qualified. They are not qualified to do it. Anyway, I thought I'd beat that drum a little bit more. I figured out how to get back to the Amazon sort of thunder a little bit more. And also in labor law news, minimum wage has increased in the state of California 50 cents on January 1st up to $16.50. And so we also have exempt status changes for workers, and an employee may be considered exempt from overtime if the employee, 1, is engaged in executive, administrative, or professional duties over 50% of the time. It's a duty test, and the employee earns at least twice the state minimum wage for full-time employee salary test. The minimum salary test for overtime exemptions applicable to administrative, executive, and professional will increase to a minimum of $68,640. So lots of good stuff has been passed. SB 525 with an increase in the healthcare industry to move minimum wages up. Captive audience meeting, which is the SB 399, so when I talked about earlier. You have paid family medical leave. I mean, think about this. Like, too many things, like all these regulations, Yeah, anytime you see these regulations that are being levied on businesses, it's because they're not doing the right thing. I got 3 minutes. You telling me to shut up? No. So you also have some state disability insurance and paid family little leave under SB 1090, workplace safety and temporary restraining orders effective January 1st. 2025 California Workplace Violence Temporary Restraining Order laws will be expanded so that the collective bargaining representatives, not just the employer, can seek the TRO on behalf of an employee who suffered unlawful violence or a credible threat of violence. Actually, Local 2010 was one of the ones that first sponsored the original bill on this one. And so it's interesting to always see bills that protect workers that kind of originated somewhere else and go somewhere. So lots of good stuff has passed over the years. City and county enforcement on workplace discrimination laws, as well as a law just started up trying to prevent, in the public sector, trying to prevent employers from an end around and not hiring anybody. And most importantly, which I should have spent a better part of time talking about, is SB 82 passing, and how many workers are going to be benefiting from SB 82. We're going to actually put a bunch of stuff out. We're going to email some stuff, and maybe on next week's show we'll do a bigger piece of this. But the amount of money that is in some people's going to be put in people's pockets, that the windfall protection situation.
Oh, you mean HR 82?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
I was confused because you said SB. That's Senate
My
bill.
bad. HR 82.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Senate bill.
Yeah.
It's obviously a congressional. So HR 82 passed. It was signed by the president. I will, for not to get into political beefing, but this has been hard to get done. All the votes against it on the Senate were all Republicans, just so you know. It's important for us to hold our people accountable. And in Congress, out of the 40 that opposed it, only 4 were Democrats. Almost the rest of them were Republicans. And so, unfortunately, this is a partisan issue that shouldn't be a partisan issue. Mm-hmm. And clearly, President Biden signed that as he should. And those that opposed it argued. Let me know when I get down to 1 minute. Those that opposed it argued that it was going to cost too much money. And right now, when they're arguing to gut government spending, because that means gutting your jobs if you're listening to this, or how those jobs may affect you, or quite frankly, fire suppression or fire protection, which is happening right now. So at a later show, we'll talk more about HR 82. Sorry for mispronouncing that.
Yeah,
that
we can
number.
bring Kathleen on here to talk about it.
Definitely should, because I know somebody who's it's switching from like $350 a month to like $3,200 a month. That's how big of a shift it is in how much people are going to be getting by that windfall protection being limited. Remember, all that's their money anyway. And so this is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. We're building worker power in the Inland Empire. And how are we building worker power? Talk to our friends. Talk to our neighbors. Talk to our relatives. Coming together, getting our employer to respect those demands, and organizing under the Teamsters 1932 Worker Power banner. That's how you can do it on the job as well. This is Randy Corrigan, the Worker Power Hour, longtime organizer, first-time radio host, and longtime father, signing off.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa